Next, we'll discuss a model. This model is known as information processing approach. Information processing approach use human computer to explain memory. According to this approach, human memory process information, human memory manipulates information in the way the computer does, the same way the computer does. So human memory, like computer, encode the information, store the information, and use this information when we need to do a task. So what happened in computer? We give an instruction, then computer manipulates the information which is stored in its storage, and on the basis of that manipulation, the computer generates some output which is presented in the screen. Similarly, in human memory also, memory receives some information, some command from outside environment. From that command, from that command, human memory look for the informations which is stored in his storage system, manipulates the information, modify the information, and then we can do some task with that we need by using that informations. So let me explain it with an example. Suppose I want to let me explain it with an example. Uh, Suppose I want to narrate my experience. Someone asks me to narrate my experience of last summer vacation. So this is the instruction that I'm receiving from the environment. Now I have to narrate the experience. I have to check my storage system that and see all the informations which are relevant to that particular experience, and that is the way I am manipulating the information. I am handling the information, and once I'm able to find the experiences, the informations about related to that particular experience, then generate I can generate the then I can manipulate the information, and then I can narrate my experiences based on that informations. So in this way, our human memory work like computer. Also, in computer, there is a temporary memory and a permanent memory. Temporary memory is known as random access memory, and permanent memory is the hard disk. Similarly, in human brain also, there is a temporary memory which is known as short-term memory, and there is a permanent memory which is known as long-term memory. So now we'll discuss these different types of memory in the next slides. So this analogy of computer and human memory leads to the first theory of memory that is given by Atkinson and Shiffrin. This theory is known as stage theory or stage model. Now we'll discuss sensory short-term and long-term memories. Atkinson and Shiffrin in 1968 proposed this stage model of memory. So according to Atkinson and Shiffrin, in our memory there are three separate storage systems. The first one is sensory memory, the second one is short-term memory, and the third one is long-term memory. Sensory memory means, so sensory memory is the first stage. Sensory memory can store large amount of information, but the duration is very small, it is less than 1 second. So whatever information, whatever experience we encounter, we store that in the sensory memory. We use our sense organ to register those information. There are two types of sensory memory which are very important. That's iconic and echoic. Iconic memory means when we store information in terms of images for a short period of time, and echoic means when we store information in terms of sound for a short period of time. So once information is there in the short-term memory, it travels one information from the sensory memory travels to the short-term memory. Short-term memory has small storage capacity and its duration is less than 30 seconds. Then information from short-term memory travels to the long-term memory. Long-term memory is a permanent storage capacity and its duration is unlimited. It means once information enters to the long-term memory, it remains there permanently. With the information that not lost from the long-term memory. Now the question is, how information travels from one store to another. Like in sensory memory, It has large capacity, many informations are there, but how that information travel from here to short-term memory, or how information travels from short-term memory to long-term memory. So there are some control processes. These control processes actually determine which information will travel from one store to another. The first control process that I will discuss here is selective attention. So in sensory memory, there are many informations are there. So we can register many information through our sense organ. But it is not possible for us to send all information to the short-term memory. So we pay attention to some informations and we don't pay attention to other informations. So the information or the facts on which we pay attention, they travel to the short-term memory, and the information or fact on which we don't pay attention, they gradually decay from the sensory memory. So let me give you one example. Suppose I'm in a classroom and many informations are coming, like the lecture of my teacher, the some sound, some noise from outside of the classroom, or someone is talking, and I can also hear what they are talking in my class. So now many informations are there in the sensory register. So I have to decide on which I'm going to pay attention or on which I'm not going to pay the attention. So if I pay attention in a one stimulus, that information will travel to the short-term memory. So suppose I decided that I'm going to pay attention to my lecture, then that information will travel from sensory memory to short-term memory. Now, once the information is in the short-term memory, then we have to rehearse the information, means we have to repeat the information or rehearse the information, practice the thing. If we practice or rehearse the information, then it will travel to the long term memory. The different kind of rehearsal. The first one is maintenance rehearsal. Maintenance rehearsal simply means maintaining the information through repetition. So let me explain it with an example. Suppose I want to remember a phone number. So what I will do, I will continually repeat the information, repeat the number, and by that I will able to remember, I will able to transfer the number to my long term memory, and I will be able to remember the number properly. The second method is chunking. Chunking means dividing the entire unit into small units so that we can remember the thing. So suppose I have to remember a 10-digit number. So how can I do that? I can divide the entire 10-digit number into small unit, like unit of 2 digit, unit of 3 digits, like this, and then I can remember the entire thing. So it is again help us to remember things and transfer information from short term to long term memory. Then the third one is elaborative rehearsal. Elaborative rehearsal means here we try to connect the new information with the information that is already there in the long term memory. So suppose I which is already there in the long term memory. So let me give you one example. Suppose I have to remember a date, which has some historical significance. So what I can do, I can connect the information with the information that I have in my long-term memory already. I have, like suppose the date is 7th May. So 7th May is already I know 7th May is my friend's birthday. So that information is there in my long-term memory, and I'm connecting the new information that I have to remember the day because of some historical significance with the and connecting that the same day my it is my friend's birthday. So ये मुझे हेल्प करेगा डेट को याद करने के लिए. कैसे मैं याद करूँगी कि उस दिन मेरे फ्रेंड के बर्थडे है और उस दिन ही वो इंसिडेंट हुआ है, वो इम्पोर्टेंट डेट है. सो मैं अभी इसको ऐसे याद कर पाऊंगी. So that is elaborative rehearsal. So information that which we store in by using elaborative rehearsal are much better, easier to remember or than the information that we store using maintenance rehearsal. So if you use elaborative rehearsal, we can store the information for a long period of time than if you use maintenance rehearsal. Now we'll discuss the concept of working memory. So far, the researchers believe that short-term memory is a unitary system. But this is observed that short-term memory is not a only unitary system, or it is not passive storage of information only. Other short-term memory is very active, especially when we are doing any cognitive task. We need to store information, we need to manipulate information, and in that case, short-term memory play a very important role. This is known as working memory. Alan Badley in 1986 gave the concept of working memory. Working memory means which hold information, different kind of information that we need to constantly manipulate, constantly use to do any cognitive task. So let me give you an example. Suppose I want to solve a mathematical problem. For that I need to uh, keep use some formula. So I'm holding that formula in my short-term memory, in my working memory, and I'm constantly manipulating and using that thing, that information, while solving the problem. Now, what are the components of working memory? Working memory has three components: phonological loop, visual spatial sketchpad, and central executive. Phonological loop means when we store information in terms of sound. Visual spatial sketchpad means when we store information in terms of uh, vision and spatial information. We store visual and spatial information. And central executive, which organize the function of phonological loop, the visual spatial sketchpad, even the information that come from long-term memory. Central executive decide how to plan, how to proceed, how to control our behavior, which resources we need to do the behavior. So, so if I am solving a mathematical problem, central executive will decide which formula I have to use and help me to select formula which is stored in my long-term memory. Central executive will decide which steps I have to follow to solve the problem, how I'm going to implement the formula to solve the problem. So central executive will decide all these things. So from this discussion, we can say that short-term memory is not a passive storehouse. Rather, it is an active system which is known as working memory, and which we need when we do different kind of cognitive activities.